Well, hello and welcome to the Sacramento Public Library. I am Stephanie Borelli. I am a librarian here at the Central Library. I actually am supposed to stay downstairs on the lower level in kids' place, but as a children's librarian, I tend to do a lot of adult programs, so I'm very fortunate. Today we begin our new series of programs, How Outlandish. Hooray! But before we get started, I have a few things to say. First, this program and others like it are supported by the Friends of the Library. Yes, it's true, everybody who's here today has generally volunteered their time, generously volunteered their time, but the Friends of the Library has supported this program series and some of the other events in this series. So we are very grateful to them. And for just $15 or $20 for a family, you too can join the Friends of the Library. We have Friends brochures over on the table, and you may fill those out and become a member as soon as you can. So I do encourage you to do that. There are a few other items on that table. There are the booklets, which have program descriptions for the entire series. So pick one of those up if you haven't already. There is an email list. If you do not already receive emails from me, please write down your email address and I will send you information about How Outlandish and other similar programs that are coming up. So that's one way to stay in the loop. And speaking of other programs, the second part of Hedda Gabler is next Sunday. And Capital Stage will return to discuss the Ibsen play and their adaptation of it. So that's part of our Notable Books series. And Notable Books will continue, but not so much during the duration of this Outlander series. We'll do Macbeth in October and November, and Tom Stoppard's The Real Thing in January and February, and both of those will be collaborating with Capital Stage again. Now back to business. I am so excited to finally kick off the How Outlandish series. I've been planning to do this series since 2010. Thank you. Even when we were still planning How Ostentatious, this was in the back of my mind. As a fan of Outlander myself, I noticed that the books were always checked out. Had to place holds on the next one. And even 20 years after the first Outlander book was published, still always checked it out. My mother and I both love listening to the audiobooks that are the unabridged versions, which are narrated by Davina Porter, so expertly done. And we listen to the books and read them again and again, and I know we're not alone. There are others out there that do the same thing. Now, fans of authors like Jane Austen have organizations and meetings and conventions to meet with one another, but Outlander fans? No. Sure, there are blogs and lists on the internet, but for the most part, we are out there alone until now. Here is a place for you to meet like-minded people and to learn more about some of your favorite books. In designing this series, I used a very personal perspective. What would a reader like myself want to know more about? Or what would be fun to learn or experience firsthand, and hence our unique lineup of programs. All 12 programs are listed in this booklet. There are a couple changes. Unfortunately, our speaker for June 16th, Don McCrae, fell ill and we had to move some things around. So my talk on July 7th, The Real World of Outlander, has been moved to June 16th. And we flip-flopped. So on July 7th, Joshua Brown from Sky Highland Outfitters is going to come and talk about tartans on July 7th. So do make note of that. Hopefully you'll just want to come to all of the programs. Except really won't matter too much, but that may affect some of you. So, and also, the library has a web page for this series. If you go to www.saclibrary.org/Outlander, it's on your booklet, you have links to descriptions of all the programs and any changes will be there. And we are also going to record these events, hopefully all of them, as long as we have permission from the speakers. And then those will be posted via that webpage. So do check in there. If you want to go on the tour of the Hawaiian Chieftain on October 27th, must register. There are 39 spaces, and if everybody wants to go, then we can arrange to have another tour that same day. So do register now so we can prepare. And we can make accommodations if you need help getting on the boat. So do let us know. They'd like to know in advance how they can help. And the whiskey event on November 3rd is for 21 and older because, yes, whiskey will be poured. So the little ones must stay home for that. Well, let's get on with our program today. I'd like to introduce to you our guest speaker, Chuck Jamison. He's been playing the bagpipe since 1990 and teaching since 1995. He learned to play when he joined the 91st Division Band, the United States Army Reserve, in the same year that he joined the Sacramento Public Library and Clan Gun. He was the non-commissioned officer in charge of the 91st Division Pipe Band from 1994 to 2000, and was a member of the City of Sacramento Pipe Band from 92 to 2001. In 2000, he transferred to the 59th Army Band, California National Guard in Sacramento. He was a platoon sergeant for the band as well as their bagpiper until he retired in 2005. In addition to playing for pipe bands, he's participated regularly with the California National Guard Veterans Honors Program, rendering military honors at veterans' funerals, and for patriotic events like Memorial Day and 4th of July. And he has also played Irish drum and other percussion with Celtic folk groups, and now plays regularly with Scout Rebellion and Irish Pub Band. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Chuck Jamison.
Is this on, or do I just
Yes.
make a lot of noise? Okay, perfect. We're going to start. That was very nice. I'd like to meet that guy. Therefore, the bag cover is not from the 17 or even 1800s. Well, maybe in the 1800s it could have been, so it's in the American Army. But anyway, I don't change my bag cover anymore because I am an Army piper. But this program is supposed to be based more or less in the late 1700s in Scotland. So most, you'll see several costumes here as I introduce some of my folks that are going to join me here. We're going to start out with some dancing, actually. So first of all, my drummer, Kevin Campbell, he was very active in the How long have you been drumming?
Scottish drumming for about 16 years.
Okay, you heard that, right? Do we really need that microphone? Yes. Well, anyway.
16 years.
Another friend of mine who represents one of the dance, Scottish Highland dance, Bria McKinney. And I'll let her speak for herself. She's going to be at the end of the microphone. And our dancer tonight is Allison Cleveland. Is that right? We were going to give you a little bit of information about her dance studio and the dance that Allison is going to dance. And we will step to the back of the stage.
Thank you, Chuck. Scottish Highland dancing is such a rich part of the Scottish culture and Scottish heritage, and we're so excited to get to share it with you today. I've got Allison Cleveland here, and the first dance that she's going to do is called the Scottish Lilt. And a lot of the Scottish dances have rich histories and historical significance. This one is not so historically important, but it's a beautiful dance. And we'll go ahead and ask Chuck and Kevin to play Heights of Dark Eye.
we'll have more dancing in a little bit. Anybody know how the pipes work? I see a couple of people here that know them, but okay, so I'm going to tell you what you've always wanted to know. And there'll be questions and answers later if we don't hit on things you've always wanted to ask a bagpiper, except for that question. Actually, you can ask that question later. Anyway, so bagpipes are a high-pressure instrument, not a high volume. They're like a trumpet. Okay, trumpet players, their cheeks get real thick. It's called Dizzy Gillespie syndrome. So do bagpipers. So you can say, I don't need to lose weight, it's done with bagpipes. Anyway, there's a valve in the blow stick. The air goes in, but it won't come back out. Okay? I also have 4 reeds. The 3 drones, they're on my shoulder, and then a double reed chanter. It's much like an oboe, if you know anything about woodwinds. And so most of the time the air goes in the bag and then out to the 4 reeds. That's how I play. When I want to take a breath, that's when I start squeezing the bag and take a breath and then come back, start blowing again, refill whatever air I used, and I'm going. The trick that you gotta master so they don't sound so bad, you gotta keep the pressure even. If the pressure drops, the tone drops, it gets lower. That makes sense? And then the pipes are set up so that the drones take a little less pressure to get started. So you can start the drones, and then you increase the pressure and you start the chanter, and you start the tune. And then the last thing is for tuning, the drones have slides, so you can move them up and down to get them all together, which right now they work pretty good. By the end of the day, we'll see if we're still there. Okay, any questions so far? Yes, sir.
What kind of bag do you have?
Actually, my bagpipes, Miss Gabaldon, apologies to her, is a Gore-Tex bag. My pipes are all plastic. The only natural thing about these whole pipes is the reed, the double reed in the channel, which is cane. But I've been an Army piper. We play in the hot and cold and this and that and the rain. And these things are, you can use them for a jack handle in an emergency. It's just really, really tough. But the plastic has the exact same characteristics as African blackwood. Same stuff that they make. The difference between wood flutes and plastic flutes, the same thing between these guys. Although at the level I play, most people aren't going to notice any difference if I'm playing this or if I'm playing wood bagpipes. Okay, so now Kevin's going to tell you a little bit about drums.
Well, I guess I have to use the microphone. I'm just kind of a loud guy to begin with because I play drums and I can't hear anything else. I'll just give you kind of a quick, brief history of drumming. Anybody here a drummer? Did you play marching band?
No, I just played a recreational band when I was in the service.
Well, the military started picking up the drums about 1100 AD. Before that, they felt that the Romans probably brought some drumming when they were in York, but for the most part, they felt that military drumming came during the Crusades, when England went and fought, and specifically Egypt, which they felt they got the pipes and the drums. And from there, they learned that drumming could be used for not just marching, but signals and direction, and basically how to get the troops to march. And specifically towards the Gabaldon books, during that 18th century, you had very close quarter marching. And the drumming was very specific for directing the troops to go to different spots. And they had different speeds. They had regular march time, which is about 70 to 75 beats per minute. They have quick time, which is about 100 beats per minute. And when they wanted to charge or really move the troops, it would be about 120, which is practically running. So, interestingly enough, they felt that they got there's a little history with it. They felt they got the drumming from Saracen. Anybody heard the term Saracen? Do we all know what it is? Saracen is a medieval term for Muslims. So that's where they felt they got the drumming, specifically Egypt. During the time of Diane Gabaldon's books and so forth, everything was very close quartered, and the drums were kept close to the standards of the colors, not because they're marching them through, but it would help the generals and the field marshals figure out where their standards or colors were. So the drums were kept there. Secondly, drummers in that time were paid. They were paid like a sergeant. They were paid about 5 shillings compared to the standard enlisted men. So they were hired to play, and interestingly enough, they would only play very limited battles and so forth. They would probably get paid and decide, I don't want to get shot at anymore, and move on. It wasn't until the 1850s that the Queen Victoria signed drummers specifically to a regiment where they were fighting soldiers and not just drummers. Other than that, just to give you an idea, basically all of the different monarchies through the times would offer 2 drummers per regiment, about 100 soldiers and so forth. So it kind of gives you a quick history of it. Most of the regiments put their standards or insignias onto their drums. The drums back then were rope pulls. This has a very similar sound, but as you can tell, it's not a rope pull, you know. So, as drumming progressed, we now have our more modern drums that are very specific to pipe bands because they really started pushing the pipes during Queen Victoria's time with drum. So, any questions? Anything? Quick history.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Okay, we're going to bring our dancer on again.
The next dance that Allison's going to perform for you is the traditional Highland fling. And there are so many stories about where this dance came from. Some people thought it was a victory dance after battle, and some people thought it originated in the churches. I like to tell the story that my dad always told, and that's that a young boy and his grandpa were up in the Scottish Highlands, having a nice relaxing day, and the young boy looks up to the hills, and he sees a stag. And we all know what stags are, right? Our little guys in the back, we know that stags are like reindeer. Christmas time, right? Okay. So little boy sees the little reindeer-like stag, and Grandpa pulls out his bagpipes and begins to play. And it appeared to the little boy that the stag was dancing to Grandpa's bagpipes. And so now when you see our Highland dancers, if you look at their hands, you'll notice that they represent little stag antlers. So here's the Highland fling. We're going to ask our gentleman to play Bonnie Dundee. Later in the program, but at this point, does anyone have any questions about Highland dancing? Okay, thank you.
those of you who do not wear this kind of a costume, we have a lot of different kinds of outfits up here. What I'm wearing right now is formal Highland attire. I could also be wearing a plate over my shoulder. I didn't put it on today. This item hanging under my belt is called a sporran. So this is the equivalent of a fanny pack back in the day. Keeps some good in there and some extra shots, barrel tips, whatever you carry. The kilt, I think, started out as a blanket, essentially. They wrap it around their waist, pin it, throw the rest of it over their shoulder. That became the great kilt. In the 1700s, thanks to Sir Walter Scott, we came up with this. What happened was at Gabaldon, which is in the books, which is 1745, which I want to emphasize, that was a civil war. That was not like Braveheart. That was not the English and Scotland fighting. Now, the English definitely were on the side of the government. But the Civil War, Bonnie Prince Charlie, Bonnie Prince Charlie was the Catholic king, and the Catholics had been tossed out and they wanted to come back. And it was a civil war. Anyway, once Lawton happened, and the government won, the Highlanders had been thorn in their side, and they said, that's it, everything is banned, no kilts, no pipes, no speaking Gaelic, none of that stuff. And of course, the Highlands partly caught that on themselves, but they were very independent without having to go along with any particular government. So, but in later, 17, I created back to 85, maybe, or something like that, 84. Anyway, it was all rescinded, all's forgiven. It did happen to coincide with the English woolen industry, and these use a lot of wool. And Sir Walter Scott, our costumes today are a lot related to what Walter Scott wrote about. But anyway, so I'm wearing a Highland jacket. I guess I do have my modern, I didn't take my modern as well, right? The gillies we wear, no tongues. So, yeah, you run around and the feet gets wet and it's theoretically it'll run out faster. We all wear a knife in our sock. Even the ladies in the pipe bands wear this outfit. What else?
I'm wearing a Black Watch uniform. There's basically a couple different things. One is that we've got the Black Watch tartan, which was raised in 1725 to oversee the Highlands, to police the Highlands, if you will. So that's where the tartan came from. They wanted a uniform tartan. I'm actually wearing the officer's sporran that's from the Argyll Sutherland Regiment, which is ironically Inverness. Normally I would be wearing my NCO sporran, which is this one, and this is a jock sporran from regular enlisted men for the Black Watch. So just khakis. Traditionally, they wear the Black Watch wears a red hackle. Black Watch pipers don't have dicing in their Glengarrys, which is why I'm wearing the Balmore with the hackle. So. And I got the red sash for the sergeant. If you were an officer and you were a major, the sash would go to the right hip. If you're a sergeant, it goes to the left hip.
Okay, so then a little more about the history. So when everything was banned, except one place it was not banned, and that was in the Scottish regiments. In fact, it was encouraged, so to wear their kilts and pipers now, and you had multiple pipers. Back in the 1600s, which is when they got this kind of loud bagpipe. I should step back one step further. Bagpipes, some form of bagpipes, probably biblical times, okay? And all of Europe and other places had some form of bagpipes. These really loud war pipes like this, the Irish invented them, gave them to the Scottish. It was supposed to be a joke. Anyway, but it was a solo instrument. It was also used for signaling. The piper at the castle would play a kind of tune, and that would be passed on and let the people in the countryside know there's going to be a party or wedding, bringing food, or there's going to be going to war, bringing weapons, whatever. This is surmised. But anyway, so back to the Scottish regiments. So piping was encouraged. As Kevin said, the English had African drummers, which is why if you see a traditional Scottish band from the regiments, the bass drummer wear the leopard skin in front. So anyway, by the 1800s, the concept of a pipe band has gotten going. In the 1800s coincides with the
War.
Anyway, England ruled, Britannia ruled seas. So, pipes were introduced to the rest of the world, to those parts of the world, in the form of a pipe band. That's why Pakistan and India and places like that have pipe bands. There's also the places where the colonists were, the U.S., Canada, Australia, they have pipe bands based on the immigrants. So now you know everything you want to know about the issue of bands. Any questions?
Kilt pins, are they significant, or do you just get to wear whatever you like?
We get to wear whatever we like. In a military situation, you might wear something specific. Most people wear a clan badge on there. I served both in the Navy and Army, so I'm wearing those two services. Another question?
When you're using the pipes for the battle, how far can you hear that?
I would say if you don't have a lot of other noise in a battle, I don't know, in a battle it's mostly the guys right around that are hearing it and it's helping them stay motivated. But to signal, they'll go 10 miles easily. We've learned that whenever you go out to practice your pipes, no matter where you go, somebody can hear you. Keep that in mind. Don't screw it up. All it is,
I wanted to jump back for a kilt pin question. Regimental kilt pins look like a big safety pin. And it was brought on by Queen Victoria when the wind came up, her kilts were flying up. So she took this pin that she had and put it on the kilt, and that's where the kilt pin originated.
we typically don't look at actually to the apron underneath. But Kevin's absolutely right. Is there another question on here? Yes, ma'am.
1850s, 1854 to be exact. Queen Victoria.
Did you see the Black Watch and Scott Stars on that with Colson?
Sorry?
Did you go to see the Black Watch and the Scott Stars?
I did go to see them. I've got a bunch of buddies that are Black Watch pipers and so forth. So we ended up going out to the San Rafael.
Yeah, this time when they went on tour, they didn't do a very good job of letting us know where they were. We had the schedule. I had friends that told me, "Oh yeah, they're here. They're well they're in San Rafael." Anyway, they weren't in Sacramento. They weren't in San Francisco. They weren't in the other places we expect. They were in our program. They were awesome.
But just to let you know, they're all tank soldiers too. So their first job is as soldier first, and then as a pipe band. So when they go on tour, they're actually off, not really off duty, but they're no longer serving. And I think the Black Watch, they were out of Fort George, which is ironically in Inverness again.
Another question. Okay, so I'm going to play something before we bring the dancer out. This I want to show you a little bit of the versatility. The music that we have here in our country western, some rock and roll, a lot of folk, it all goes to that Northern European, has the same roots as the Celtic music. And thanks to Braveheart, we had a big upsurge a few years ago in Celtic music, right? So, but we can do other stuff. No, I'm taking a little departure from Gabaldon. I'll do a test afterwards. Okay, can we have our dancers back?
By the way, there's only 9 notes on that, which is why they have some adaptations to different tunes. You expect different notes to play that you're familiar with, and they have to modify it.
Okay.
While Allison gets ready to do the sword dance, I'll talk a little bit about my school. Again, my name is Bria McKinney, and I teach for the McKinney School of Scottish Highland Dance. I've been dancing my whole life, specifically Scottish Highland Dance. I've done other dance, but with the family, it was Scottish dance from the get-go, and it's still Scottish dance. I've been teaching for the past 14 years. I have young students, both boys and girls. They start about 5 years old, depending on counting ability. The ability to count to 8 with no gaps is very important. And we have dancers all the way up into their teens. I think Allison, are you 16? She's 16. I think so. That's enough about my dancing school. If you have any questions or if you're interested in lessons, please feel free to come and talk to me. I teach in Sacramento and also up in Roseville, usually on weeknight evenings. And my dancers perform all over Northern California and travel for competitions. We'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the sword dance now. There's a couple of stories about the sword dance. It was said that an old-time Celtic prince took the sword of a king that he had defeated, and he laid his sword on top of it and danced in victory. It's also been said that the sword dance was done the night before battle, and warriors would lay their sword down on top of its sheath, and they would dance on top of it to see if they were ready to go into battle. And if they would kick their sword or touch their sword with their foot, it was a bad omen. And if she'd go into battle, they could be injured or killed. So let's see if Allison's ready to go into battle with Chuck playing 42nd Highlanders. Thank you. What's up?
She needs a nap now.
Well, she's got more dancing to do. The dancers travel around for competitions, and so far today you've seen 3 dances. In an average competition, they can do anywhere from 8 to 12 of those per day. In the sun, Alice Jamison's got short sleeves on today, but oftentimes they wear a jacket similar to what Chuck's wearing. Nice and hot. Yes.
What's the name of the first dance?
That was the Scottish Lilt, L-I-L-T. Yes.
You're going to be taking your dancers to the Caledonia Club at San Francisco games in Pleasant.
We do compete at Pleasanton. As a competitor, I was lucky enough to travel all over the world, and there are about, I don't know, maybe 12 Highland games in the state of California, north and south, and we travel around and compete there, and there's Scottish games all over the U.S. and Canada, and I was fortunate to travel all over Canada and compete, and really all over the world. Anywhere that Scottish culture is celebrated, we're there dancing.
You did the dance at Cal?
I danced at Cal, yeah.
Silver up.
I didn't qualify. For anyone who doesn't know, Cal is the World Championships for Highland dancing, and it's a wonderful deal, and it's a great opportunity just to be invited. It's an island, and you get to take a lovely long ferry ride to get there, and it was an honor just to go over and dance there. Yes.
You've been to the tattoo in Edinburgh.
I have. Some dear friends of mine in 2003 were honored and invited to go dance. So when I was there, I had to go see. And these young ladies actually took a semester. They're from Canada. They took a semester off school to go rehearse for 8 hours a day, every day of the week, to be ready to perform at the tattoo. It's a fantastic experience for them and wonderful just to get to watch it. Thank you.
You brought something up for my next topic here, which is where the word tattoo and tattoo comes from. Tattoo comes from the word doden tapto from Dutch, which basically meant to shut the taps down. And drummers were in charge of doing reveille, marches, the beating of the retreat, which became tattoo, which is now known as more of a military gathering. And has anybody been to the tattoo here? Do you ever wonder why it's at 9 o'clock at night? The regiments were told that they needed to send the drummers out at 9 o'clock at night to beat the beating of the retreat for half an hour from 9 to 9:30 to close the taps down, to tell everybody they're shutting the garrison doors, and to draw all the soldiers back into the barracks.
I want to tell you very briefly, there are a lot of resources in the Sacramento area for Celtic stuff. That includes Irish and not just Scottish. If you just Google my name, Jamison, with an I, with a number 2 in front of it, 2 Jamisons, plural, www.2jameson.com. There's Celtic calendars, there's several pages on dancing, pages on heavy athletics, piping, places that have Celtic sessions and stuff, not only in the Sacramento area, but all over Northern California. I collaborate with another fellow, we have a calendar for Northern California. He's got all the coastal Bay areas from Santa Cruz to Fort Bragg, and I've got inland into Reno and up in Oregon. So you can go find all that stuff if you want to. I have a called e-list that you can just email me. Email's the same, chuck@2james.com. So those resources are out there. Do you have a question? Okay. In Sacramento, for instance, there is a Caledonian club, a St. Andrew's Society, which is a men's only club who have ties to Scotland. There's a Daughters of Scotia, which is a female-only club. There's an Irish club. Those are the 2 major Scottish-Irish. There are 5 bagpipe bands. There are several clan societies. There are about 3, good-sized Highland dance schools, as well as Irish dance I'm not as familiar with. There are, we have the Woodland Games. We just went to Modesto. That's the other thing that's on this calendar is all the games. There's games in Monterey in July. There's games in Dixon in September. The games in Pleasanton are Labor Day weekend. And you want to include Southern California, if you head north, once you get up into, go to British Columbia, they've got, they make us look like Army trying. But, anyway, so lots of resources for this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff on there in the internet as well. Scott, like Kevin pointed out, we only have 9 notes, and they've been writing music since the 1600s. It's quite a surprise to me. They are still writing music for the bagpipes. They're still writing music that's good. Some stuff that's, take it or leave it, but there's still some good new music coming out. We also do all kinds of stuff. Firemen and policemen pretty much associate us with Amazing Grace and Snow Airs. The reality is, Amazing Grace, you may realize, is a redemption song. It's a good news song. It's about somebody that was doing wrong and saw the light. So it was never meant to be a sad song, but they put a movie out in the 60s, which I don't remember the name of the movie. Amazing Grace on bagpipes hit the charts, went to like number 16 or something, and ever since then, it was like they played it at a funeral. Ever since then, it's been played at funerals. Before that, it was typically Flower of the Forest or Summer Soil. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different kinds of music just so you sort of get an idea. And I'm going to talk a little bit about pibroch. Pibroch is the classical music for bagpipes. Again, in the 1600s on the Highland sky was when it was taught. You might notice, okay, I put my pipes on my shoulder here like this. And there's no particular advantage on my chanter which hand goes where. You know what I mean? I can't play this with it. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't matter if I'm right-handed or left-handed. However, I'm right-handed, but I'm wearing my pipes left-handed. If you think about it, my right arm should be my strongest arm, and the bag should be under my right arm, right? The reality was the Crimins, who had the schools on the Isle of Skye, were left-handed. All the pipers play like this. And you learn, you know, it's not that big a deal, but it's counterintuitive. So anyway, pibroch has a theme and then variations on it, and then goes back to the theme, like a lot of European music. By the way, pibroch is spelled P-I-O-B-A-I-R-E-A-C-H-E. Well, here's what I know about Gaelic. You don't pronounce it the way it looks. I can say pibroch, and I can also spell Cayley, which is a Celtic party. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a taste of pibroch. I'm not a pibroch player, but I can give you the idea. players in the audience that would have thrown things at me. But that was the idea. It's usually they're all slow like that, and you have to really like it. I really do like it, and I know drummers that like it. I mean, they have these big contests, but a lot of people just go serious. So it's a very complicated stuff, which I can just barely manage, and then I actually had to change to a different tune to demonstrate that. So.
So if you like that, if you like key rocks, there's a guy named Alan McDonald that was one of the better ones in Scotland. And I'd love to research Alan McDonald. I'm good on the drum.
You're good on the drumming. All right, then let's
Wanna
bring a dancer out again. I have no idea what that is.
About 10 to 4.
Okay.
The last dance that we're going to do for you today is called the Chartreuse, which literally translates as old trousers. After the Battle of Gabaldon, the Scots were known to wear their kilts. Can you imagine having to wear something that you weren't comfortable in, that you didn't want to have to wear? Well, they had to wear these old trousers. And as you watch Allison do this dance, you'll notice there's a lot of kicking going on with her legs, so shaking movements and kicking movements. And that's to symbolize after the Scots were again allowed to wear their kilts, they would kick off these old, dirty trousers. And then at the end of the dance, she'll go back into the traditional Highland playing to celebrate that she again gets to wear the kilt. Very athletic. It's a great way to get children involved with music and culture and give them a bit of exercise as well. Feel free to come and talk to me or visit Mr. Jamison's website if you have any questions that we can answer for you. Thank you.
I'm going to demonstrate what the solo competition looks like in 2-4 March. I haven't been a competitor for a really long time. I did it when I first started because my instructor said it. So it really was good. It really made you focus. Competition has not been something I was that interested in before I rather perform. So I'm going to show you what it's like. Just imagine that you got a judge sitting up here behind you.
I'm not the judge.
That's what the judge would be. And we're going to do it a little differently. Normally you drummer. It could work the other way around though. If the drummer were competing, there would be a piper.
When I compete, I have to have a piper.
Okay? The drummers are a real disadvantage. And a tenor drummer, if they compete, they have to have a side drummer and a piper. So as a result, they don't compete nearly as much as the pipers do.
But they do have bass drumming competitions.
Yeah, bass drum also needs a side drummer and the piper. But I'm going to march back and forth just to give you, that's what the piper's going to have to do. Otherwise, either one of us could be competing in this particular thing.
I'm going to play 79's Farewell to Gibraltar. And so here I am playing it for you guys. This is a good competition tune. I'm in another band right now. We'll be playing it heavy metal style in our next album.
So fill out your scorecards and tell them how good he is.
All right, so I'm just going to back up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, something like that. At the halt! Quick! Halt! We are now open for questions.
Any questions, anything?
Who makes bagpipes?
What?
Where are they made?
Scotland, for the most part. Some are made in Pakistan. Pakistan is capable of making very good bagpipes, but they typically get shipped to Scotland and they get stamped. Pakistan also makes very poor that are good for hanging over your fireplace.
The real key is the type of woods they use, because the wood needs to cure, and if it's not, it cracks. So it's very important, the type of woods. And there's different types of redwoods, and I can't answer that. But
Could you go a little bit more about the earlier history of pipes? You said they came from Ireland originally, so
Well,
expand on that?
there were pipes throughout the world. Some kind of a bladder attached to a reed, so it play continuously. And something else I didn't talk about, the different kinds of pipe. Most of those were small, were quiet pipes, and which we still have, by the way, so the small pipes. And ensemble instruments, you play with, fiddlers and whistle players and stuff. But that's my understanding, is that it was developed. The loud ones like this were developed in Ireland, and they migrated. They're only 25 miles apart, and migrated into Scotland.
Well, the Romans brought them from Italy, and they carried them through Germany and all the way into the Germans have the Google sack.
Oh yes,
The
absolutely.
Irish and the French have theirs, and then they brought them to England, and the Scots got mad and jumped over Hadrian's Wall, went down and stole them,
Yeah.
and they made them into the Highland pipes you see today. Because the Irish only have 2 drums. We went further, we had 3.
I believe that the pipes originally go back to Egypt. And you'll have places like Spain and bass who have the single drone and not the 3 drones, which is what you're
And they
referring
only
to.
play 8 notes.
Those are more, what happened is all of Europe had pipes, mostly small pipes. And with the invention of fiddles and guitars and brass instruments and all those stuff, I mean, this is a horribly hard instrument to take care of. Mine is totally, I got rocket science materials in my drone reeds. I never have to mess with them. Nothing bothers them except temperature. The whole thing is just so easy. I can't even imagine living in the 1700s and trying to keep the darn things, going.
One more thing, tell the people if they've seen these pipes of rosewood and focus and stuff advertised in Pakistan and India, not to buy them, because they won't stay in tune for 6 months. They're just firewood.
No, they don't cure
You can hang them over your fireplace. That's what I thought. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Back to that.
You may have said this before, I can think about the drums, the drummer. Yours is a very modern drum,
Right?
and I may have said at the beginning, but are there any drummers use the more authentic materials, or how are they made?
Well, yeah, the rope pulled drums, the rope tension drums. There's actually a band that's a friend of mine in Los Angeles, Fife and Drum Corps, and he has the traditional shell with the rope tension drums. And it's a hardwood shell, and they have the wood ring, and they just tighten them up, and it's, like I said, you missed the earlier part, but the sound is very similar to this. That very foxy sound. So there are still some people that play them, and they're actually fun to listen to.
About drumming, it's making me think about other kinds of drumming that have existed since prehistoric times. Shamanic drumming, for example, among the Sami, knuckle drumming, it was often
Right, the
called.
finger drumming.
Playing wood. I've even seen at folk festival where there were Mongolian drummers. And the drums are huge and they just blew away. As this kind of, with your kind of drumming, it's obviously fantastic. Does other kind of drumming, historic drumming, interest you?
Well, I was a kit drummer in high school, so I didn't start off on this. And the Scottish drumming has very specific rhythms. I mean, elementary, there are only 2 techniques if you really go down to basic drumming. There's a tap and a roll, and then there's 13 to 26 rhythms based on variations of taps and rolls. So that's the same thing applies to any of the drumming, whether it's congas and bongos, timpanis and so forth. There's triplets, paradiddles, and they're all just simple rudiments. And the Roman drums were similar to the African ones with the small shell and then the bowed out head with the skin on top of it. And again, you're just moving air. And when the lady in the back asked about the traditional drums of the 1700s, the thing is you're moving air. And the Scottish drums are very tight, they're very specific. They have that gunfire popping sound. Whereas there's the bow. The bow rounds is similar.
This is an Irish drum. I'm not used to this one, but I've been playing this drum in a Celtic Irish pub band for a long time. Stout Rebellion just broke up not too long ago. Went to different projects. We didn't have a lot of politics or anything. But anyway. Actually, people in the audience probably can play this, but I have a claim to fame. I actually got musician's wages and was hired to play the bar.
Question. I did many honor guards, various fellow Marines, and it wasn't the song "Amazing Grace" they played. It was some other derivative of the actual Irish bagpipes. And I don't know what it is, but it sounds so good. But it's
Are you talking about for funerals or?
Yes,
or,
yes.
Well, he mentioned Flowers of the Forest and Lochburn No More are the 2 the regimental songs for funerals.
I play, when I do a funeral, based on the Army standard of where I'm kind of replacing to wear band there. So I would play something like Going Home for movement of the casket.
Yes.
We're
And the actual-
into the church now like that. And if it's a long way, we'll throw in Skyboat song or something like that.
You want to play Going Home?
You don't want to put me on my knees. That's a beautiful song.
I'm a drummer, I just like to play.
these days, I do 1 or 2 funerals a month. I mean, and for some reason, I just got 10 funerals in a period of about 3 weeks. Totally, that's the way it goes. So, yeah, I've been playing this a lot, yes.
I have a question. I'm sure others have the same question. So how do you get started playing?
Well, for me, these guys, I was a Navy pilot. I didn't hear the whole bio, but I was a Navy pilot, search and rescue pilot in Vietnam. And I ended up in the National Guard as a combat engineer for quite a while. I was getting a little older and thinking, I'm looking for something a little more, not so physical. And I saw these guys in the pipe band at the Vietnam Memorial Dedication in Sacramento. And I said, what's the story? They said, hey, you'll transfer to the band, we'll teach you to play the bagpipes, and you won't have to go to Camp Roberts and eat dirt every summer for 2 weeks. I said, okay, that's a no-brainer. I flew helicopters, I know I can. That's how I got started. The way most of you can get started is see me, I teach. So what you need to learn, your commitment to begin with is you buy a good practice channel, which looks a lot like our channel, not quite this big, but just has a mouthpiece. You blow into it. And you learn the scale and you learn tune. And you continue to use it if you become a piper, you'll still continue to use it because that's how you learn your new tunes. If you're in a band, you're going to work with the rest of the band, how you're going to do it. So it's a $75 to $100 investment, maybe a book of music. And you work with a teacher and see how it goes. Turns out it's
It'll take you
not.
5 years.
Huh?
It'll take you about 5 years.
Well, I started at 45, and the first 2 years I wasn't with a lot, but and I was fairly motivated, in my job, but after I got the hang of it. I've been playing 23 years, and I'm still really a grade 4 piper. It goes 4, 3, 2, 1 in professional. Now I get paid, so I guess I'm also professional. Anyway, so that's the deal. There are teachers, and I'm not the only one teaching, of course. The City of Sacramento Pipe Band and the White House Pipe Band have people within their organization teaching. They kind of like the way, they just assume I taught the basics. The other nice thing is, there's no controversy about the fingering on the bagpipes. There's no this school and that school. Everybody, it's all the same. So, so if I teach you how to play the basics, you go to pipe band, there won't be any difficulty because they're all going to play it the same.
I started a little differently. I was a drummer, and I got into Scottish history. And as a drummer, the rudiments in Scottish drumming were very detailed and very specific. So I wanted to get more back to basics of the drumming for Scottish style. And just to give you a quick difference, traditional drum corps, the rolls are very open. So you'll hear every tap on the drum, that sound. Whereas in Scottish drumming, they really crush the rolls, so it's a buzz sound. And along the same lines, they flam. You have a regular flam, and the history of the flam is that they wanted to make it sound like there were more drummers out there, so they would do this quick hit layup. So when you had 3 or 4 of those flamming, it sounded like there were more drummers. Well, in the Scottish style, they do dragged sticks now. So I got into it for whole other reasons because I really enjoyed the sound of pipes and I learned my history. And I've just been kind of fanatical ever since.
He's also one of the few drummers I've met who enjoy performing. Most of them are really in the competition. 80% of pipers I know, it's competition is their main goal. They will play for things, but only if they can earn money so that they can go to another contest. And don't get me wrong, they'll also play for military and police and things like that occasionally when they can. But that's what it is. Yes, sir.
Did the Scots ever use the Highland pipes?
The which kind?
The Highland
pipes. Well, those are associated with Ireland. After a while, people complain from anywhere. I should have talked a little bit about that. There's all kinds of bagpipes. Besides the old, the historical pipes. Today there's a number of small pipes that are ensemble instruments that are not really loud and play with, like I said, with fillers and whistles and what have you. The Allen pipes, like you're talking about, are way more complicated. Might as well be a different instrument. Besides having drones and a chanter, there's another set. I don't even know how. There's another set of something on there that they play with their elbows. It's like an organ.
They have a pump. They have a pump on one hand.
Well, there's that too. They got a pump, but they're not mouthful. But you've also, it's like an organ with foot pedals. And and 2 rows. You know, each hand on your feet can play with it. The elm pipers do that with a set of pipes, and they got their elbows in their hands, and they put the. Mostly, we believe the Irish play mouth blown so that they can drink while they play. I was at an Irish pub there, and my name is Jamison, so. Most of the people that I know that trace our ancestry to Scotland have Irish history in there too. A lot of, if you think about it, when there was some disaster, either in Scotland or Ireland, it was a lot easier to go 25 miles over to the other country there than it was to go all the way to the new country, to the New World. And it wasn't until a couple of disasters later when things happened that our ancestors ended up here. So.
There's a question over there too, somebody.
Since you touched on the uilleann pipes, what is it about the uilleann pipes in their design that allows them to jump to a second octave versus the Scottish pipes that cannot jump to a second octave?
Magic? No, I don't understand them. What I understand is that they're just way more complicated than you guys. But yeah, it's a pressure thing, I'm sure, but I don't know how it works. Your question, Maria?
You were talking about the competition and you don't like that. What do the judges look for that would make you stand out or not stand out?
Oh, okay, well, the
You
judges.
gotta qualify that a little bit because there's pipe band competitions where the whole pipe band's coming in. There's the piping competition and peat rock competition, and then there's drumming. So you have to qualify which aspect you're asking.
Well, they're looking for things to be technically correct. Now, they also are looking for things that the performers also looking for, which is that the pipes are tuned and sound nice. So that's the 2 things, that you have a nice sound, and that you play correctly. I mean, that's what you judge for. And that's why even if you're just a performer, I don't want to say just, but if you're a performer not interested in competing, it's still not a bad idea to compete because it really does help you master the details.
But what would they, I mean, I would assume during competition you would be at that level. What would put you?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So,
It would be
champion.
how complicated the tunes you take to play. Some tunes are a lot more easy to play, and as they get more complicated. Also at the higher levels, you're gonna. I didn't also. Are we running out of time, by the way?
Well, let's have one more question.
Okay. Well, the last time I think that we play slow airs, right? We play these marches. Marches is a big thing because it's associated with military. But we also play dance music. So we play hornpipes and jigs and reels. Well, at the upper levels in competition, the higher, those are more complicated, they're harder to play, they're fast, and that has a lot to do with the level. You also play longer, more complicated marches, fast phases, things like that. There, one more question?
Can you play a reel?
No, but I'll play itchy fingers for you. Okay. Just to show you that I can.
Going